All right, ready to dig in. Today, we're taking a deep dive into raised garden beds.
Ooh, interesting.
But not just any raised beds. We're focusing on the top manufacturers in Germany, looking ahead to 2025.
Okay, very cool.
And our source for this deep dive is a report from Hongmao Garden.
I don't know that one.
Well, they're a Chinese manufacturer and exporter of DIY products, including raised beds. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it seems they've really got their finger on the pulse of this market. And get this, the designs are incredible.
Really?
We're talking sleek aesthetics, a huge emphasis on sustainable materials, and even a glimpse into the future of gardening with some seriously cool tech integrations.
Going to ask, are we going to be seeing any smart gardens?
You bet. But first, let's start with the big names.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, at the top of the list, we have Metzler, based in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Metzler.
All right, familiar with them?
Yeah, I've seen some of their stuff online. They're known for their metal beds, right?
Yeah. They're all about that durable metal construction with a minimalist modern vibe.
I like that. Very sleek.
Right. And you know what's great about that?
What?
That durability comes from galvanized steel, which is a game changer for outdoor use.
Ah, yeah, galvanized steel.
Mm.
The zinc coating makes it super resistant to rust and weathering, so you're looking at a real long-term investment there.
Exactly. It's perfect for people who, they want something that's low maintenance, high quality, and looks amazing.
Yeah, who doesn't want that in their garden? Yeah.
Seriously. Okay, so next up, we're heading south to Munich, the home of My Garden Home.
My garden home, okay.
Now, these guys are all about versatility, offering beds in a bunch of different sizes and materials.
Oh, interesting.
So whether you have a sprawling garden or a tiny balcony in the city, they've got you covered.
So they're hitting different price points too, I imagine.
Exactly. And it's interesting, right? They use both lightweight metal and some really durable plastics.
Yeah, tapping into different needs and preferences for sure. Not everyone needs a heavy-duty metal bed.
No, for sure. Now, speaking of different needs, let's say you're on a budget but still want something super durable.
Right, who isn't these days?
I know, right? Well, then you might want to check out Estexo.
Aztexo, okay.
They're based in Hamburg and known for offering high-quality beds without the hefty price tag.
How do they manage that?
They use powder-coated steel.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, it's a super durable, weather-resistant finish, and it gives the beds that sleek, modern look, but at a more affordable price point.
I love that. It makes gardening more accessible to everyone, which is fantastic.
Totally. Okay, now let's switch gears a bit. For those serious gardeners out there, or maybe anyone dreaming of starting their own little farm.
Small farm dreams, I love it.
Aha, right. Well, for those folks, we have VEU in Frankfurt, and they specialize in heavy-duty galvanized steel beds. We're talking built to last, ready for anything you throw at them.
No kidding. So they're going for that really specific market.
Yeah, they're filling that niche for people who really need those super robust, reliable beds.
It makes sense though, right? If you're doing a large-scale project, you don't want to be messing around with flimsy materials.
You need the workhorses.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's move on to a company that's really putting sustainability front and center. Keter in Essen.
Keter, okay. I know they do a lot of outdoor stuff.
Yeah, they do. And they're making waves with their resin-based raised beds. They use UV-resistant, eco-friendly materials.
That's pretty cool. Very innovative.
And it's not just the beds themselves.
Oh,
They offer a whole range of accessories like irrigation systems and composting solutions, all designed with sustainability in mind.
so they're really thinking about the whole gardening ecosystem.
I love that holistic approach. Now, speaking of style, let's talk about Everbloom in Stuttgart.
Everbloom Stuttgart.
These guys are all about elegance. They combine wood and metal to create these really beautiful raised beds.
It's an interesting combination. So more of a high-end aesthetic.
Yeah. They're perfect for people who really see their garden as an extension of their home style.
So it's like a design element as much as it is a gardening tool.
And it can even extend beyond the backyard. Have you ever thought about putting a raised bed in your front yard?
Actually, yeah. My neighbor has one, and it looks fantastic. It really elevates their curb appeal.
Right, and with those sleek, modern designs we're seeing from companies like Metzler, it can be a really cool way to add some visual interest to the front of your house.
Plus, it's a great conversation starter, right?
Yeah.
People walking by are always curious about what you're growing.
Totally. Now, for those who are really passionate about minimizing their environmental impact, we've got Green's Fence in Berlin.
Green's Fence, okay. What do they specialize in?
They're all about natural wood-raised beds, catering to that growing demand for sustainable options.
Yeah, that's important. But what kind of wood are we talking about here?
They use FSC certified wood, so it comes from responsibly managed
Oh,
forests.
good. That's reassuring.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look for when you're choosing a wood bed. All right, now for our listeners who might be dealing with limited space, Vegtrug in Leipzig has a great solution.
Limited space. That's a problem for a lot of urban gardeners, myself included.
I hear ya. Well, Vegtrug specializes in V-shaped raised beds, perfect for small gardens or even balconies.
Oh, clever. I've never seen those before.
They're really cool. The design is super ergonomic, so it's easy to reach all your plants.
And what about the material?
They also use FSC certified wood, aligning with their commitment to sustainability, so you don't have to sacrifice sustainability even if you're short on space.
Love it. See, there's always a solution out there.
Always. Okay, moving on. We have Biohort in Nuremberg. They're kind of at the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, in what way?
They offer these high-end metal beds for the gardener who's looking for the best of the best in terms of quality and durability.
The Rolls-Royce of raised beds.
Right. These beds are meant to last a lifetime, and they have these sleek, contemporary designs that make a real statement.
So targeting a discerning customer.
Exactly. And last but certainly not least, we have Hawkbeat Manufacture in Bremen.
Hawkbeat Manufacture, Bremen. Say that 5 times fast.
I know, right? Try it. Anyway, these guys are the kings of customization. They'll work with you to create a truly personalized raised bed.
Interesting, like completely bespoke.
Yeah, using premium materials, of course. So if you have a unique garden layout or a specific vision, they can bring it to life.
That's incredible. It really speaks to that personalization trend we're seeing across so many industries now.
It's all about making your garden a true reflection of your individual style and needs.
Exactly. It's not just about functionality anymore. It's about creating a space that's uniquely yours.
So there you have it, our whirlwind tour of the top German raised bed manufacturers.
That was fascinating.
I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling super inspired to revamp my own garden.
I hear you. So many amazing options out there. It's really great to see this level of diversity catering to every budget, style, and gardening ambition.
Couldn't agree more. But it's not just about the individual companies. The Hongmao Garden report also highlighted some major trends shaping the industry as a whole.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
Let's dive into those next, shall we?
Let's do it. So, what are these trends? Spill the beans.
Well, one of the biggest takeaways from the report is this growing emphasis on sustainability.
Yeah, that's been a big talking point in the gardening world for a while now.
Right, and it's really exciting to see how these German manufacturers are stepping up to the plate.
Okay, so how are they doing that? Give me some specifics.
Well, for starters, we're seeing a lot more companies opting for eco-friendly materials, like we talked about with Metzler and Evio, using galvanized steel.
Yeah, galvanized steel is a great option.
Yeah.
Durable, long-lasting, and it can be recycled.
Exactly. And then you have companies like Vegtrug really championing sustainably sourced wood.
That's good to see. I mean, wood is a natural material, but it's crucial to make sure it's harvested responsibly.
For sure. And, it's not just about the materials themselves.
Right, it's the whole process.
Yeah, it's about how they're sourced, they're manufactured, the whole life cycle of the product.
So, thinking about the environmental impact from start to finish.
I think that's where consumer awareness comes in too, right?
Oh, absolutely. People are getting more educated about these things, asking the right questions.
Yeah, like where did this material come from? How is it produced? What happens to it at the end of its life?
And companies are starting to respond to those demands, which is great.
Okay, so sustainability is a big one. But another key trend that the report highlighted is customization.
Ah, customization. I love that. It's all about creating a garden that's truly your own.
Exactly. People want their gardens to reflect their personal style, their needs, make it unique.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all anymore.
And this goes beyond just choosing the right size or material for your raised bed.
Right, like what else can you do?
Well, think about accessories, for example.
Oh yeah, accessories. I love a good garden accessory.
Like trellises for climbing plants or protective covers to shield your crops from pests or harsh weather.
Or even just some decorative elements like a little birdhouse or a wind chime.
Right. It's about adding those personal touches that make your garden feel like an extension of your home.
I love that. It's like taking indoor design principles and applying them to your outdoor space.
And you know what else is really interesting? This whole idea of smart gardening.
Smart gardening. Okay, tell me more about that.
It's all about integrating technology into our gardens.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, think about things like automated irrigation systems, where you can control your watering schedule from your phone.
Oh, wow, that would be so convenient, especially if you travel a lot.
Right, or sensors that monitor soil conditions and adjust watering accordingly.
So it takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly. And there are even systems that can track plant growth and alert you to potential problems.
That's amazing. It's like having a personal gardening assistant.
It really is. But of course, with any new technology, there are some things to consider.
Right, like what?
Well, things like data privacy, security, making sure these systems are being used responsibly.
Yeah, that's important to think about.
Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about sustainability, customization, smart gardening. Oh, and we can't forget about urban
Oh,
solutions.
yeah, urban gardening. That's a whole movement in itself,
It really is. And the report highlighted this trend of compact raised beds designed specifically for balconies and small backyards.
which is fantastic. I mean, not everyone has a huge, sprawling garden.
Right. And it's so important to make gardening accessible to everyone, no matter where they live.
It's about bringing nature into our cities, even if it's just a little balcony garden.
Now, before I move on, I wanted to address something we touched on earlier, this idea of raised beds going beyond just our backyards.
Oh, yeah, that was a really interesting thought. Like, what if they were integrated into our homes, our communities, our cities?
Exactly. Imagine apartment buildings with rooftop gardens filled with raised beds bursting with fresh produce.
Ooh, I love that idea. It would be so cool to have a rooftop garden in your apartment building.
Right. It would create a sense of community. People could grow their own food. And just think of the environmental benefits.
Reduce transportation emissions, less packaging waste. It's a win-win.
And it's not just limited to residential spaces, right?
No, I was just thinking, what about schools?
Exactly. Imagine schools incorporating raised beds into their playgrounds or their courtyards.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. It'd be such a hands-on learning experience for kids.
Right. They could learn about where their food comes from, about sustainability, about the whole cycle of life.
And what about public spaces, like parks and plazas?
Exactly. Imagine walking through your neighborhood and seeing beautiful raised beds filled with flowers, herbs, vegetables, all kinds of things.
It would be a way to bring nature into the heart of our cities, create these little pockets of tranquility and beauty.
And imagine if those gardens were communal, where people could come together to grow food, share knowledge, connect with each other.
It would be a fantastic way to build community, foster a sense of ownership, and just make our cities more livable and vibrant.
I love that vision. And, it's not just about aesthetics, it's about food security, too, especially in underserved communities.
That's a crucial point. Raised bed gardens could empower communities to take control of their food sources, grow their own fresh, healthy produce.
And reduce their reliance on food banks or expensive grocery stores.
It's about creating a more equitable and sustainable food system.
Now, stepping back for a second, I think this vision of integrated raised beds really ties in with those trends we were discussing earlier.
Oh, for sure. Sustainability, customization, it's all connected.
It's not just about the materials or the design of the beds themselves. It's about a shift in mindset, a move towards more thoughtful and responsible gardening practices.
It's about thinking about the bigger picture, how our choices impact the environment, our communities, the world around us.
And how gardening can be a force for positive change.
I love that. So how do we make this vision a reality? How do we move beyond just dreaming about it?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, right? We need to start conversations, share ideas, get people excited about the possibilities.
Yep, spread the word.
Exactly. We can connect with our local communities, advocate for policy changes, support businesses that are embracing these sustainable and innovative approaches.
And on a personal level, we can start by incorporating some of these ideas into our own gardens.
Right. Even if it's just a small balcony garden, every little bit helps.
Choose eco-friendly materials, experiment with smart gardening technology, think about how we can make our gardens more accessible and welcoming to others.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Gardening should be enjoyable.
Absolutely. It's about connecting with nature, getting our hands dirty, and watching things grow.
I couldn't agree more. Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to shift gears a bit and focus on the practical side of raised bed gardening.
Okay, good idea. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's address some common questions and challenges that you, as a listener, might encounter on your own gardening journey.
Perfect. Let's empower people to get out there and start growing.
So let's start with a basic question. What are the best plants to grow in raised beds?
Well, the good news is that you can grow pretty much anything in a raised bed that you can grow in the ground.
Oh, that's great to hear.
But there are some plants that particularly thrive in this type of environment, like things that need excellent drainage.
Okay, like what?
Tomatoes, peppers, herbs, those kinds of things. They do really well in raised beds because the elevated structure helps prevent waterlogging.
So if I'm a newbie to raised bed gardening, where do I even begin?
Well, first things first, think about your space.
Space, okay.
Yeah, measure the area where you want to put your bed. Consider how much sunlight it gets throughout the day.
Right, different plants have different light requirements.
Exactly. And then think about what you want to grow, how much space each plant will need.
Okay, so I've got my space figured out. I know what I want to grow. Now what?
Now it's time to choose your raised bed. And luckily, there are tons of options out there.
We've covered a lot of them already.
We have. Think about your budget, your style preferences, the level of durability you need. Do you want wood, metal, plastic? There's something for everyone.
And you don't have to buy a pre-made bed either, right?
Nope. You can totally build your own.
Yeah, using reclaimed wood or other inexpensive materials.
There are tons of DIY plans and tutorials online.
All right, so I've got my raised bed. I'm ready to plant. What about soil? Can I just use the soil from my backyard?
You can amend your existing soil, but it's generally recommended to use a high-quality potting mix, specifically designed for raised beds.
Why is that?
Well, those mixes provide the right balance of nutrients, drainage, and aeration that plants need to thrive in a raised bed environment.
Okay, that makes sense. What about watering?
Watering is key. Raised beds tend to dry out more quickly than in-ground gardens, especially during hot weather.
So I need to water more often.
You might need to, yeah. It's important to monitor the moisture levels of your soil regularly and water deeply when needed.
Are there any specific watering techniques you recommend?
You can use a watering can, a hose with a spray nozzle, or even install a drip irrigation system if you want something more efficient.
Drip irrigation, that sounds pretty high-tech.
It can be. But it's a great way to conserve water and make sure your plants are getting the moisture they need.
Now, what about pests and diseases? Are raised beds more susceptible to those problems?
Not necessarily. The elevated structure can actually offer some protection, making it harder for some pests to reach your plants.
Oh, interesting.
But it's still important to take preventative measures. Choosing disease-resistant varieties, practicing crop rotation, keeping your garden clean.
Good tips. And what about weeds? Are they less of a problem in raised beds?
You'll definitely have fewer weeds, especially if you use a good weed barrier fabric underneath your soil.
Oh, I've heard of those.
But it's still a good idea to do some regular weeding just to keep things in check.
It seems like there's a lot to think about when it comes to raised bed gardening.
There is. But it's a learning process, and it's so rewarding.
I can imagine.
And the most important thing is to have fun, experiment. Don't be afraid to try new things.
I love that advice. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. And remember, there are tons of resources out there to help you along the way. Books, websites, online forums, even local gardening groups.
Right, you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Exactly. There's a whole community of gardeners out there ready to support you.
This has been such a great conversation. We've learned so much about raised bed gardening, from the top German manufacturers to the practical tips for getting started.
And it's clear that raised beds are more than just a gardening technique. They're a reflection of our evolving relationship with nature, food, community.
We've talked about so much today, the trends, the practicality, even the potential of raised beds to transform our urban landscapes.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, but I think it's important to end this deep dive by circling back to our original question. That thought-provoking idea of raised beds becoming integrated into our homes, our communities, even our cities.
Yeah, it's a question that really makes you stop and think.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, imagine a world where those sleek metal beds from Metzler aren't just tucked away in backyards.
Right, imagine them lining rooftops, balconies, maybe even integrated into public parks and plazas.
Exactly. And those versatile designs from my garden home, they could be popping up in all sorts of unexpected places, bringing a touch of greenery to even the most urban of environments.
And imagine if those budget-friendly options from Estexo made it easier for everyone to create their own little green oasis, no matter their income.
Absolutely. It's all about making gardening accessible to all, right? And then you have companies like VegShrug showing us that even limited space doesn't have to be a barrier to growing your own food.
It's so inspiring to see how these companies are pushing the boundaries of what's possible with raised bed gardening.
And then there's that whole world of smart gardening technology opening up even more possibilities for urban dwellers.
Right. Imagine using your phone to control the irrigation system on your rooftop garden, making sure your plants are thriving even when you're away.
Or using sensors to monitor the soil conditions in your balcony garden, ensuring your herbs and veggies are getting the perfect amount of nutrients.
It's like having a personal gardening assistant at your fingertips.
It really is. But beyond all the cool technology and innovative designs, I think what really resonates with me about this vision is the sense of community it fosters.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine neighbors coming together to tend their rooftop gardens, sharing tips and harvests, creating a real sense of connection.
And think about the impact on local food systems. If more people were growing their own food, even in small spaces, it could reduce our reliance on supermarkets, cut down on transportation emissions, create a more sustainable and resilient food chain.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it? And I think it's something we can all strive towards,
Yeah.
even in our own small ways.
Exactly. Every time we choose to plant a seed, every time we nurture a garden, we're contributing to that vision, one step at a time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's carry that inspiration with us.
Let's continue to explore the world of raised bed gardening, experiment with new ideas, and imagine the possibilities of a greener, more connected future.
And most importantly, let's get out there and get our hands dirty.
Happy gardening, everyone!